It's a genuine inflection point today, right now, for America and Americans and the world. It is upon us, and it is more akin to watching a small child play with fireworks than any serious examination of policy choices being made by a serious or rational actor. Today, the world is madly translating and trying to decipher a series of rambling texts, social media posts, and unhinged rants delivered from the podium of the West Wing of the White House to try to figure out what exactly it is that Donald Trump is threatening. A series of late-night posts up the ante in what the Washington Post describes as the gravest transatlantic crisis in generations. Donald Trump once again posting texts from world leaders, including this one. French President Emmanuel Macron asking for a meeting and saying what we're all thinking at this point, quote, "I do not understand what you were doing in Greenland," end quote. Other posts contained fake images of Donald Trump planting a flag on Greenland. Another, an Oval Office meeting in which a map shows that both Canada and Greenland have been annexed by the United States of America. All that happened on top of yesterday's stunning text message to Norway's prime minister, in which Donald Trump made a lot of things clear, but one of them was that he wanted Greenland because he wasn't given the Nobel Peace Prize. And Applebaum in The Atlantic writes that the message to Norway's leader reveals that, quote, "Donald Trump now genuinely lives in a different reality, one in which neither grammar nor history nor the normal rules of human interaction now affect him. Also, he really is maniacally, unhealthily obsessive about the Nobel Prize." Donald Trump seeming to prove her point in remarks to reporters this afternoon, making the dubious claim that somehow he's saved millions of lives. Watch.
You know, should have gotten the Nobel Prize for each war, but I don't say that. I saved millions and millions of people. And don't let anyone tell you that Norway doesn't control the shots, okay? It's in Norway. Norway controls the shots. They'll say, we have nothing to do with it. It's a joke. They've lost such prestige.
I feel like someone should have the job, though, of telling him that Greenland is a territory of Denmark, which isn't Norway at all. When asked about the French president not joining his so-called Board of Peace, his pay-to-play, members-only club of world leaders with a fee of Austin Powers-sounding numbers, $1 billion for permanent membership, Trump threatened to slap a 200% tariff on French wine. This manufactured voluntary chaos, the constant threat of on-again, off-again tariffs, of military action, of possibly sparking a financial crisis, as the United States suddenly looks insane and like a really risky place to invest or bet on long term. All of it begs for someone, anyone, to say out loud what everyone's thinking, including Emmanuel Macron. And for someone, anyone, to decide enough is enough, time to rein him in. Especially as more and more Americans experience Donald Trump's roller coaster of manufactured chaos. The more they're on it, the more they want to get off. A batch of devastating poll numbers for Donald Trump show that just 37% of Americans approve of how he's handling the job as president. 71% of all Americans say the country feels out of control. That's not a number or a question I've ever even seen asked before. As for the possibility of an invasion of Greenland, 9% of Americans think that's a good idea. So that's the backdrop against which California's Governor Gavin Newsom is today urging Europeans to stand up to that wildly unpopular president, Donald Trump. Watch.
Yeah, it's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. I've seen this in the United States, the supine Congress playing both sides, saying one thing on a text or a tweet and another publicly. It's time to have principle. It's time to stand tall and strong. It's time to stand united. You make that determination. I don't make that determination.
When you say standing
collectively, I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I mean, handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes that are being given away. I mean, it's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. I mean, at least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing.
Europeans think this is diplomacy and this will ultimately
this is
work.
Diplomacy with Donald Trump? He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you.
You mate with him or he devours you. I'm waiting for someone to put that on a sweater. The country and the world grappling with a T-Rex, an erratic and seemingly unstable president, is where we start today. Atlantic staff writer Anne Applebaum joins us. A new season of her timely podcast, Autocracy in America, is out right now. International affairs analyst Michael McFaul is here. He's a former U.S. ambassador to Russia. And executive director of Protect Democracy, Ian Bassin, is with us as well. Anne Applebaum, I start with you. Your tweets and your posts and the things you pull out and underscore are the things I'm sort of grabbing onto to try to understand how the world sees us right now. But just tell us what you're hearing and reporting.
I think the story of today's madness really starts a couple of days ago with the text that Donald Trump sent to the Prime Minister of Norway, which not only went to that prime minister, but was then sent out by the White House to ambassadors in Washington and maybe elsewhere. The text blamed Norway for not giving him the Nobel Peace Prize. It said now that he hadn't won the prize, he wasn't going to be so interested in peace anymore. And he implied that this was a justification to invade Greenland. The same text had grammatical errors, historical errors, things he said about Greenland that just weren't true. He said something about there being no written documents proving Danish sovereignty. Actually, Denmark and the U.S. have signed treaties over Greenland. Others have as well. And it really, I think it caught people's attention. Even there are many other crazy things have happened, but it was so strange and it was so off the wall, and it was so clearly detached from reality, from historical reality, from normal grammar, from normal behavior, that I think people are finally beginning to see that there's something very wrong. I mean, Trump is living in his own world. I'm not going to make a medical diagnosis. I don't think there's any point in doing that at this point. But he has his own world, his own rules. He's not practicing normal diplomacy. He's not seeing the world in a normal way. And that is, of course, since he controls the U.S. military, very dangerous. And could there be a violent invasion of Greenland? Yes, there could.
I am reminded, Ian Bassin, of sort of the parable of kidnapped victims who are there for days, weeks, months, years. And then one of them gets up and opens the door and it's unlocked. Like, this could end today. This could end before I get off the air. Could. I mean, like Congress could decide to do, not to confront him, but just to do their job, the thing that the Constitution ascribes and describes as their function. The courts could be respected. The business leaders who were like making bricks for Donald Trump and doing all sorts of other pathetic, sick stuff could wake up and realize that his brand is in the toilet. 9% of Americans support his war in Greenland. 37% think things are going well. It's a toxic brand. They wouldn't have anything to do with any celebrity or person anywhere on the planet with those approval ratings. And the whole permission structure for him to act as Anne describes. And again, we don't know why he acts this way, but let's just say it. He acts like a bleeping lunatic. That could end before I get off the air at 6 p.m. Eastern.
I mean, we belabor this point, but the founders anticipated a threat like this of someone who was a tyrant in the presidency. And the protection, as you know, was that there was not one person who got to make these decisions, that we had three supposedly co-equal branches of government that were supposed to serve as checks on one another. And I thought Governor Newsom, I appreciate that he's trying to buck up the European leaders, but he spared one line there for members of Congress and the courts here, and they're the ones who need the knee pads, right? I mean, this is a situation, as you know, that could end tomorrow if the Republicans in Congress actually did with their offices and their votes what we all know they are saying in private. And look, the liberal order has had massive success and some challenges. The neoliberal order certainly had its successes, and it may be that there are things about both that need some form of renovation and updating. But you don't renovate your kitchen by destroying and blowing up the entire house. And if Congress and the American people and the courts saw that the person they brought in to do some renovations was actually destroying the whole place, just as if it were your house, you would step in and do something about it. And so this isn't America first. This is America alone. This is going to end up as America broke, and it could end tomorrow.